All right, I'm here with my good pal, Willie J, and we are here to announce something so exciting for us, and it's good for you guys too. Our brand new book just dropped today. The book is called Magnetize Media. We want to talk to you today about being attractive, about attracting, and all of those kind of things. And so I'd just like to welcome here alongside of me Mr. Willie J. Hey, Willie, how you doing?
What's going on, my main man? Steve Kidd. What is the bid, my man? It's great to be
Uh,
here. Exciting
so
time.
excited. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. This book just poured out of us. We're so excited about the impact that it's all poised and ready to go. And
Yeah,
people can, of course,
yeah,
get it for free. But maybe
yeah.
talk to us just a little bit here about, what's the book about, and what's in it for people. What can they get out of it, and why should they get it?
Awesome juice. Well, let me say again, it's an honor to be working with you and then having a foreword from our legendary buddy, the Cardinal Cowboy. He did a great foreword. And magnetizing media is how to become a magnet in your niche. And, you know, it's about becoming a magnet, not chasing media, but merely essentially you're attracting the media, you know? So it's pretty much one of those things, and you'll learn about how no one else, no one knows who you are, why no one knows you the way they should. Everybody has a story, and we know this, Steve. You're only as strong as your marketability, your market. You can have the greatest product ever, and then once you do, become a number one best-selling author or international best-selling author, like we've been blessed to achieve. This is number 11 for me. We're already at a number one new release, and the bestsellers list with this magnetized media is about becoming a magnet, becoming that attractor factor, right? And staying true to your why. You'll learn about connection and how to see it before it happens, visualization skills, how to monetize and scale your book or your music. And we use those same principles with music, which set up the opportunity to meet people like Steve Kidd a few years ago now. And it's just exciting times, man. We hand out the secret sauce, the secret ingredients on how to become a magnet for media. That's right. That's what we're doing.
I love it. Yeah,
Hmm.
we're going to share with you the secrets of our voice framework,
Hmm.
visualize, optimize,
Yeah. Yeah.
gain interest,
Absolutely.
and then connect. And then you
Yes.
have to enhance, you have to embrace, you have to engage with people, and so
Yeah.
it's really all about that. I mean, I love it. I want to have a talk with you, Willie. This is just a celebration for those of you that are listening live. You just get to really be in
Yeah.
on a call that Willie and I do two, three, four times, sometimes five times, depends on how the week's going, that
Absolutely.
we do together.
Facts. Facts.
And so we may take a total left turn at Albuquerque here for you because, we're not worried about doing a radio show or anything like that. We're just
Yeah.
having a celebration, and we wanted to invite
Yeah.
you in. And
Yeah.
of course, you can get the book, and I'll give you the link for that here in a minute. But I want to talk about something that you and I have been talking about a lot the last few calls, and that's about being attractive, about
Yeah.
attraction. I love that word. In fact, I'm in the process of mulling through my head a new acronym that I'm going to come up with, or something with that at least has attract as one of the letters, if not maybe using the word attract, because everybody wants to be attractive, right? Nobody wants to be ugly. I
Right.
mean, some people act ugly, but even the people that act ugly
Right.
don't
Right.
really like it. Everybody wants to be
Absolutely.
attractive, but we can only attract the people that we're attracting, that are on the same energy level that we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're, I mean, let's talk about it in dating terms. Let's
Yeah.
go with the world standard on it. I mean, everybody that knows Willie and I know we're both, pastors and pastors' kids, and we've been in a
Mhm.
church, but let's talk about it, like we would on the streets. If you're a two, you're probably not going to attract a 10. Now, my brother
Yes.
has a great saying, and I do agree with him totally. If you're a two and you get turned down by a 10, you expected that. If you're a two and you get turned down by another two, that hurts. you know, um,
Rip.
right,
Rip.
right. you know,
Wow.
but the real of it is come on. I mean, if you're a two, you're not attracting tens, and I want to move away from that whole normal visual monetary putting
Yeah.
up on somebody's looks, and I'm talking about who you are at the heart and soul. That that old phrase, beauty is from the inside out.
Skin
It's
deep.
about being
Skin
beauty.
deep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's that beautiful
Yeah.
person inside that you can see behind their eyes. And who is that person attracting? Because let's face it, I know some of these people too, Willie. There are some
Yeah.
absolutely drop dead people. And I'm talking guys and girls, but just physical attraction, they are absolutely beautiful. But
Right.
that beauty doesn't even go into the skin. In fact, some of the times, that's something that got painted on them or plasticized on them. It isn't even really the real them. You get to know them and you're just like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
person is
Yeah.
as ugly on the inside as you can get. But it's about that attraction. So talk a little
Yeah.
bit about that from your standpoint too. I mean, what does it take to be attractive to a media that you want to be a part of? And how do you step up your game if nobody's picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, I want to have you as the next cover of GQ magazine, like Willie was in
Ah.
December."
Yeah. Yeah. Moments and momentum, my friend. We have to captivate moments, man. That is something we thrive on. And PME at Permission Entertainment is we've been going strong for 7 years, and I've lived most of those years, 90, maybe 98% of that time in media. And there's still like editors we have to get back into, get back in touch with and have follow-ups with. But it's really essentially about being authentic, number one, authenticity, having a vision and mission statement, and being able to expand that vision, like, being able to do analytics and see where the traffic is coming from and who you're attracting, what you want to attract. And look, Steve, we talked about this, man. In terms of being a magnet or becoming a magnet, being and becoming. I believe in being and becoming. And and if you take those two words, remove the rest of the letters, you have being, being, becoming. We're always being and becoming. And I'll say this. The media loves say what hasn't been said and do what hasn't been done. Keep saying what hasn't been said and do what hasn't been done. When no one was talking about, we look, Puerto Rico and Hurricane Maria at the time, we saw a gap. Study the market, see what's not being said, see what's not being pushed. And like you said before, even with music, it's some things are just the fundamentals, Steve. Right?
Mm,
Fundamental law. You become attractive with, the beginning piece is becoming a number one this. We were blessed to be not just on the cover of GQ, but to be number one in their top 10 or 20 public figures this year, 2025. But if you look at our, catalog and look at the body of work, you'll see we've been doing this, New York Weekly, number one. And what I learned, here's a secret. Take this. When one editor sees the other editor, they typically kind of bite. This is a trendy society we live in. Like, right? They say, oh, well, what's the fuss? And then they're saying, like, oh, it started with Broadway World back in 2018 or 2019. That was our biggest deal. And, it's in terms of the state. I think it's important, too, to understand that you know, we are what we attract, Steve. I learned this even in
mm,
the streets back in the day. Thank God for deliverance. But, we attract, like energy attracts like energy. All media is not good in terms of your brand. I
mm.
think it's about making the right decisions once you start attracting, becoming attractive. And I think the most attractive thing, Steve, when you agree, is being your authentic self, the way God manufactured you to function. and function in being you, and grow with the flow, and grow in that, and allow your resilience to become brilliance, knowing that you do have a story, that you are the brand. Like, yeah, pure mission entertainment, vision, right? And mission. Creating hope through, it started off hope through arts and entertainment. Well, we saw the awards and accolades and achievements for entrepreneurship and business. So we say, wait a minute. And love songs that were touching the masses, right? Billboard. We say, well, let's expand the vision. Now it's creating hope through arts, love, business, and entertainment. And we saw what we were attracting. I think it starts there, don't you think? Awareness. Like, who am I attracting? What am I attracting? And is this media good in terms, is this a good fit for my brand, for my business? Because all media is not
Oh yeah.
conducive media, right? So I
You
think
said so you said so many good things in there because first of all, it goes back to that visualize, you know, most most of the people that I've worked with over the course of the last, I mean, it's almost 40 years now. I mean, 38 years this year. Um, yeah, most all of them, they don't really truly know who they are. And now
mm,
I want to let every single person that just heard that off the hook, because that can be an ouch moment. It can be like, oh, well, that hurt. I don't mean it that way at all because here's the truth. All right. Magnetize Media, the book that just came out, and the other book that I'm just waiting for the right timing to put out. This is book 37 for me, and this is really getting the heart and soul and core of who I am.
salute.
I mean, and it's not that any of my other books were ingenuine or, any of those kind of things. It's just I had to learn who I was. And this is the other piece of it. I had to be willing to be able to be vulnerable enough and authentic enough to share those kind of
Yeah.
things, because a lot of times we want to put forward that we think attraction is. And again, it's because of that word. We're like, put on all the makeup. I'm doing the edit of this book. I'm formatting it, and I happen to catch this phrase. And the lady's telling this particular part of the story. She's telling about how she met her husband, and this phrase jumped out at me because she said one of the biggest things that just was like a love bomb in her heart. I forget the word she used, but
Yeah.
was the time when he came over to help her out with something. And she was like totally no makeup, hair all disheveled, all that, and he looked at her and told her how beautiful she was. And he said, you're maybe even more beautiful without all the makeup and, the professional clothes and all those kind of things. And
Yeah.
that's it,
Yeah.
the real you. Somebody really loves you when they see you, after you've worked a 20-hour day in the dirt or, you're tired and, it's those kind of things. That's what real attraction is. Again, it's that inside stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
man.
there's, the face is
Yeah.
going to change,
Yeah.
you can be
Yeah.
like I did and lose 100 pounds in,
Yeah.
less than a year. And your face is going to look different than it did,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the inside stuff, and then you got to let that
That's
out. You
it.
got to share that with the world.
You
I mean,
do.
if people don't know the heart and soul and core of you, if you sound like everybody else, I give you a perfect example. Right after Oprah retired, um, you know, from her daily show. I mean, we all know Oprah's still doing stuff, but after,
Yeah.
the Oprah show ended, I had so many conversations with people that wanted to be the next Oprah.
Mm.
And I was like, I understand the aspirational goal that you're saying there, and I don't want to pour water on that, but we don't need another Oprah. We had
Right.
an Oprah. Oprah does Oprah really, really, really well.
Right.
There's things that I love it when she gets vulnerable and talk about the things that she's not good at too. I
Yeah.
heard her do a conversation one time. Her and Gail, they were actually doing a road trip and they were filming it, and she
Yeah.
said something like, it really hurt my feelings because people said I'm not a nice person. She's like, well, you're not. She goes, that hurt my feelings too. I heard her talking later. She's like, I went home later and talked about this same conversation with Gail with Stedman, and Stedman said, well, she's right. You're not a nice person. He goes, you're kind, you're generous, you're a giving person. He goes, but you're very specific and very, yeah, yeah. And I forget. I mean, he didn't say like cruel or any of those kind of words, but he's like,
Yeah,
I mean, you're a specific person, and
yeah,
nice isn't. Gail's a nice person.
yeah.
You're more of the generous, kind person.
Right, right,
And we got to
right.
know those kind of things. I love it. Talk to us
Oh,
more about. Where do we go? We've never been on any media before. Tell us about the starting days for you. Pure Mission Entertainment 7, 8 years ago. And you wanted to get your first coverage. What'd you do?
well, essentially, I think let's kind of pivot back to what you said. You said some good stuff. Um, Essentially, you were saying that the attraction comes from the inside out. Even with this book we previously put out, Win Your Way, Never Stop Winning. When we win from the inside out, and we win at being our true, authentic selves, meaning the way that God, like you said so brilliantly, we don't need another Oprah. We don't need another Steve Kidd. We don't need another Willie J. And I think in a society, in day with so much societal pressures from social media and media where people put on masks, is that the media is really looking for you, who you are, who you truly are. So even prior to post PME, right? I spent a degree, maybe decades in the media on and off, double XL, front covers of papers. Don't be afraid to start local before you go national, international degree, because we have these cliches because it always leads to something greater, right? Because what are you saying? When you're saying brand, you have to think of brand awareness. You become the brand. You know the quote we use quite often: be the brand, become the brand. Be the
Mm,
brand, become the brand that you're presenting to the world. And we never deviated and we never debunked who we are. Like when you see PME, this logo in the background, that's what I was doing before we branded the vision and mission. I was already creating hope because I had faced what prison time once upon a time with people who see me know I survived stab wounds. Just a lot of miracles and nuances. And we just pretty much packaged, I just pretty much packaged who I was and the people around me and building a good team of people, understanding the power of authentic publicity. And I thought of organic when you were talking, Steve. Let the attraction be organic. You want someone, and even in a romantic relationship or whatever, or with God, personally or personal, you want that attraction needs to be not scripted, but organic. I'm big on organic attraction. Be strategic, have a game plan. You have to. You know, there's no one who won championships and who's doing great business and so that was always my motto. Like I said, if I can't do it, I think I quoted this in Never Stop Winning even. And we're going deeper in Magnetize Media, where we're really getting into the nuances of that, right? Where if I can't get to where I want to be in terms of dream, vision, goal, or endeavor, then I don't want it at all
mm.
because it's not real. If it's filtered, if I have to filter who I truly am at the heart and essence of in the core of my business, my mission, my pure mission, then yeah, later on I'm going to regret that,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
yeah. So organic attraction,
Yeah,
and we're teaching you without giving out
yeah.
everything, with the book. That's it. That's what it's always been. Organic
And
attraction.
yeah, and the book comes pretty close. I mean, obviously, I can't give you 38 years of life and living, and Willie
Yeah.
can't give you, all the years, both the 7 years of PME plus all the years on the street before that. But what
Yeah.
we can give you is all the principles that we've learned. We can take,
Yeah.
um, it's like getting on a plane, you know. Yeah, you could walk from New York to LA. People
Yeah.
have done it. You could run it, you could ride a bike, but you can get on a plane and you can have somebody else that's already learned how to fly so that you don't have to learn how to pilot a plane. You
Yeah.
just sit in the seat. The stewardess, or I'm sorry, the flight attendant. Makes me sound old and racist when I call them stewardesses. Um, you know, um,
Yeah.
comes down, gives you something to drink and stuff. And about 5, 6 hours later, you're
Yeah.
in LA. You know,
Yeah.
and you didn't
Yeah,
have to
man.
learn how to fly. You don't
Yeah.
know anything about the mechanics of an airplane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really what Magnetize Media as a book is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, here we've already learned how to fly. Here's all the mechanics. We already built the plane for you. You just
Yeah.
need to jump on board.
That's it. That's it.
And that's what we're wanting to get
That's
to.
it.
In fact, in fact, let's give them a sneak peek on what we already created for them. Should we tell them about what's coming out? So
Give them a synopsis of the
yeah,
book.
yeah. So we've already created a landing page. We've got some cooler stuff going. I created this page. So all of you that are going to the page now to critique it, I already know. All right. Okay. I always tell everybody I'm a great graphic hacker. I can hack my way around some stuff, but we've got other stuff. But we want to help you with the whole thing. And in fact, what we put together is a page that allows you to get the digital version, the print version, and the companion workbook to
Yeah.
Magnetize Media. We're going to sell
Yeah.
that to you for $14.97. There's other opportunities for you to go in deeper. We've got a community Facebook group that we started with it. We have got a lot of those kind of
Yeah.
things that we've already
Yeah.
put together for you.
Yeah.
So what is the domain name? Let me look it up because I want to make sure I say it right. Because I just
Yeah.
registered this last night at midnight, and believe it or not,
Yeah.
I don't always remember every cool thing that I do at midnight. Or at least not
Yeah.
specifically, but I got it right here. Okay, so you ready? Write this down. All right, I'm not even going to put a link to this, so you got to be listening live or on the replay. This page isn't going anywhere. I'll redirect the URL to wherever when we have the graphic, when we have the web team do something cooler. But authority, visibility, profit.com. Now, if you want to just now go and get Magnetize Media on Amazon, I put the link in there for you. Go and get that
Yeah.
for free. But if you want to jump from New York to LA, you want to get on the plane and start flying, okay, then go to authorityvisibilityprofit.com
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and jump in. Get the book, get the workbook. Even take the upsells. We
Oh
have really
man.
gone out of we
We're
put
giving
together.
back. We're
Oh yeah,
really giving back.
oh yeah.
Giving you
Yeah. We
secret
we
sauce
we
for a low
basically
price.
took the $10,000 program and kind of put it all into a package that even if you took
Absolutely.
all the upsells, you're in about $100. Maybe $120. Um, that's not me shamelessly asking you for money. That's me just telling you, hey, if you want to buy your plane ticket, we got a special going for you right now. And
Yeah.
either way, you got to get Magnetized Media. You need to
Yeah.
get it from the link. I put it in Facebook. It's in the
You have
notes
to get
here.
it.
Um, so Willie, let's talk just a little bit about the concept of a magnet. We talked about this one the other day. Uh,
Yes. Yeah, we did. I
what
can't
what is it,
wait.
what does it mean to be a magnet, and how come everybody that we're trying to magnetize to isn't magnetized to us?
You know what it is? To become a magnet is a 3 steps to winning. I think we shared this before. Many interviews in the Never Stop Winning Volume 1 Win Your Way. And we're sharing it again. And we're going in more detail how that becomes, it causes you to become a magnet. Now, if you take two magnets, right, whatever that may be, you're this magnet, here's the media, or wherever you're trying to go here. It has to be, you both has to be in motion. You have to be moving. There has to be mobility, and then boom, you stick. Otherwise, you take them apart the further they are apart, and if you're not in motion towards this, you can't stick. It won't stick.
Mm,
There's no traction. Traction, when you take action, then you become a magnet for traction. And then when you gain the traction, and if you can leverage that traction, then you become a magnet for attraction. So that's my theory on it.
I love
But
it.
you have
Yeah.
to be moving though, right, Steve? That's what
Yeah.
manifesting is, right?
Yeah. Well, and you're going to attract. I love that word manifesting. I think it's gotten a bad rap, because I think a lot of people, want to just sit around with their arms out waiting for the bag of money. I'm still waiting
Yeah.
for my bag of money to drop on me too, and God's okay if He wants to do that. Um, but really, when you really break it down, you're going to attract, you're going to magnetize, you're going to manifest exactly what you're putting out into the world. Whoever you are, you're going to bring other people like you. If you're dating and you're kind of a low quality individual, you're probably going to have a whole lot of low quality people. There's an
It's a
old
fact.
saying that I used to always say, if you meet a girl in a bar, don't be surprised if she ends up being a bar girl.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
um you
Yeah.
know and that doesn't mean that if you meet the girl in the church that she's going to be the prophetess of the word. I mean, you still need to know the people, but where you meet that person is going to definitely have an impact. But it's not
Absolutely.
about them, it's about you. It's about who
Yeah.
are you on the inside. you
Yeah.
know now, I told you
Yeah.
both. I told y'all we're ministers. We do this. The Bible just kind of pops out of us. And anybody that
Absolutely.
isn't aware of that yet, there's your warning. You can turn off the video now. Bible verse coming. The Bible
Yeah.
says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he."
Mm.
You know, and that's all about that
Yeah.
inside game.
Yeah.
It's the things that another Bible verse, since I'm going all Bible on you, whatsoever is good, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is of good report, think on those things.
Yeah.
It's whatever manifesting is about work. It's about, that, moments come from momentum,
Yeah.
thing that you're
Yeah.
always talking about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But manifesting is about heading in that direction, like you were saying with the two magnets,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
putting out that level of energy. I mean, if you take
Yeah.
those same two magnets, that same example you were using, and one of them's a positive and one of them's a negative, they're
Hmm.
opposite polarities of each other. They won't attract. The closer they
Well,
get, the more they repel each other.
yeah.
That's good
Yeah.
because you want to repel the people. I'll never forget. I interviewed a guy, and
That's good.
it was mind blowing when he said it. And now it's just so matter of fact. Um, but he goes, actually, the best thing a person can do is tell you no,
Yes.
because the
Yes.
people that don't like, he is the easy example. He goes, he lives in Minnesota, so he's a Vikings fan. He goes, if I'm a Vikings fan, doesn't matter, people don't get on me, okay? It's his example, all right? He goes, if I'm a Vikings fan and you're a Cowboys fan, I can use both of these because I know who Willie's into too, and he knows, and neither of us have a feeling about either of those teams either way. So it's
Yeah.
good. It makes a good example. This is Don Crowther's example. So yell at Don if you get
Yeah.
mad at him.
Pasty
Okay?
cheeks.
You know, but he said, I'm a Vikings fan, and if you're a Cowboys fan, he goes, and I put out there about how excited I am that the Vikings are going to beat the Cowboys, and that makes you angry. He goes, good. He goes, we're not going to be on the same level anyway. He goes, it benefits me that we know right up front that we're not the same. And so, if
Yeah.
you're attracting a bunch of trash, if you're attracting a bunch of low quality people, uh,
Mm.
you know, to quote Michael Jackson, start with the man in the mirror.
Yeah. Look inside.
Yeah,
Check out your reflection.
yeah. What are you putting out there?
What are you
Because
putting up?
because here's the good or bad news. I'm giving it to you as good news, but
Yeah.
it might hit you the wrong way if you see an insight here.
Yeah. It's perspective.
You, every single person that ever hears this, whether it's now live or 10 years from now on the replay, because all the stuff sits out there on my YouTube and stuff. Whenever you hear this, you are absolutely positively 100% you are manifesting. It's happening in your life right now.
every
You
day.
are manifesting. It's happening every second of every day. The
Yeah.
situation is not that you aren't manifesting, it's that you're manifesting exactly what you're putting out there. And Willie and I know this because we've had a lot of really deep talks about some of the things that we've been attracting that we didn't really want to manifest in our lives, and how we needed to change our own mindset. And
Mm,
that's where magnetized media comes from. Is we had to get
yeah.
ourselves in the right place first so we can put it out there. Because I guarantee you, even before we started writing this book, but especially when we started writing this book, you know, God, the universe, whatever phrase you use for it, the thing that's bigger than us, you know, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to go, all right, you want to talk about that? How you doing on that level? Let's talk about your life and what
I
you're
promise.
manifesting.
Oh
And
yeah.
we've had to look at what we're magnetizing
Oh yeah.
and do that. So
Oh yeah.
kind of wrap it up for us, Willie. I mean, uh,
Yeah.
I've rambled on a little bit there, but talk
That's
to
good
us about
stuff.
what's on your heart, and tell people go get the book.
Well, definitely go get the book. You won't be sorry. It is the secret sauce. Some of the angles and methods and winning principles on how to do that. We just gave you a brief synopsis of what the book is going to be about. But I think that was essential what you said. It was very significant. It's definitely watch, what you're attracting, because we are attracting every second, every moment. And then you can leverage that moment, and don't be afraid to look at everything for what it is. Some people are afraid of the truth. There's this quote in that movie, you can't handle the truth, right? So you
Yeah.
have to be able to handle your truth, and
Mm.
and be bold and fearless, because fear is false evidence appearing real. And that no, I love what you said about no. Don't be afraid of the no, because that no may be somebody else's yes. And sometimes what you deem as rejection is God's protection over your life and your brand. And I had
Mm.
to learn that. And as we speak, we have all kind of media in our DMs and emails right now, and maybe over 20 to 30 magazines right now. But I don't just, as we say in this book, we teach you how not to have to chase the media, but to have the media chase you.
Come
And
on.
that comes from being you and being that brand from the inside out, as Steve talked about earlier. Okay. And trust me, you're gonna attract all types of things, and you're gonna have to be careful about some things. We don't want to, as he said, we're definitely ministers at heart, and that's what we do. And so is a man thinking his heart. If you don't think your business can be attractive, guess what? You just put that out there, that energy, and there's going to be like energy. You're
Mm.
going to get more of those type of circumstances, and then you're going to push beautiful prospects away from you. So be bold, be fearless, get that book. It will change your life. It's merely a mindset. It's about mindset. Everything rises and falls off that mindset. Believe that. And this is where we attract the most. Our thoughts are magnets, right, Steve? Our
Mm.
thoughts are magnets. So become a magnet, but you have to do it being in motion. Pardon that
Oh,
carmax little,
man.
right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
boom, you
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
You won't be sorry. We're giving back. This is our means of giving back. And we just thank God for the opportunity, and thank
Absolutely.
all of you who have always supported us down through the years. And this is a book. I don't think we've ever done a book like this, have we, Steve? I know I haven't.
No, no, not even
Wow.
close.
This is different. This is groundbreaking. And this is our way of saying here, we care about you becoming a magnet, and to help you to magnetize the media that can help you get more clients, more prospects. And we're living witnesses that it worked.
I love that.
Yeah.
This is
So
the book you've been looking for,
this
and
is
you
the
know it.
one.
Go get Magnetized Media right now today.
That's right. It's already a bestseller, number one new release. And we would love your support. And more importantly, we'll love to hear your testimonials after you read it, because I am very sure that you'll never be the same. after reading this book.
We're so glad you all joined us. We'll be
Thank
with
you,
you again
guys.
soon.
Appreciate you, Steve. Great to work.